Hello, everyone. I'm Pamela Brewer, welcoming you to this edition of M.E.S.H. This is where your mental, emotional, and social health is always on the agenda. So I'm really happy to have you with us today, and I would like to introduce you to my guest. This is Dr. Lisa Pion-Berlin. Dr. Lisa is with Parents Anonymous, and she's going to be talking to you about something that I hear all the time from parents and their worries about their children. But before we get into that, Dr. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Love to be here and talk about these issues and share that with people and share that with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Now, Doctor, you are a hypnotherapist and the CEO of Parents Anonymous. Before we talk about Parents Anonymous and social media and children, I got to ask you about being a hypnotherapist. Years ago, I took the training. So, I mean, I understand the training, but years ago, when people would talk about hypnosis, I was like, yeah, right. Tell people what it means to be a hypnotherapist.
I will. And first of all, I also want to say I'm a proud social worker also. So, as a social worker, we talk about what is the importance of underlying feelings and how do you dig deep to do that? Because we know the science says that I can cognitively talk about my feelings and different things, and you emote when you do that. But if you don't deal with what we call our basic underlying feelings, um, you're really only moving on one level. So, what clinical hypnotherapy is, not hypnosis because I lost my keys or things like you might see on TV or on a Woody Allen movie or something, it's really about people going back into that journey of what is triggering them and looking at that at a deep emotional level. So, whether we talk about Gestalt or other kinds of theories, it's the idea that how do you do that? So, in a light trance, you're totally awake. You have your eyes closed. You're not, nobody can tell you to go take off your clothes and you don't know it. All that is misnomer. A clinician who uses this technique, like they might use EMDR, is to really help people dig down deep into those memories where they are in our body and learn how to release them in such a way so they can move forward and redo those tapes. Like, I feel useless. I don't feel like everything happening to me is, a curse. And so those tapes come from somewhere. And going back to those experiences while you're closing your eyes, while you're deeply relaxing and listening to a soothing voice. People meditate all the time to calm themselves, to center themselves, to breathe in a certain way. And clinical hypnotherapy includes all those techniques. But it's also when you dig down deep, it's like, how do you release that? So we use things like, a baton, not for people to hit people, but to use the physicality to pound on a pillow, to shout out those words, to release that actually physically so we can come to that aha moment and redo the resources we need to build so we have anchors and supports. Where is that safe place? I can't get to that safe place when I need to if I'm jammed up in my
Gotcha.
body somewhere with the tension, the
Gotcha.
physicality of the emotions that drive. We are emotional beings, and that's what clinical hypnotherapy is about. Now, obviously medicine has used hypnosis, for thousands and thousands of years in
Indeed.
medicine to give people medical treatment. So this is clinical hypnotherapy is really in this box around well-being and mental health and spiritual health and redoing those tapes that are driving us in terms of our brain power about how we see the world, because how we
Gotcha.
see the world is going to affect how we react. The only thing we control is how we react to things. We can't control the weather or the disappointment, how
Yeah.
we respond, and
Right.
what is in our body that needs to be released and dealt with on a deep level, that clinical hypnotherapy can help with, as well as other
Okay.
techniques.
Thank you really so much for giving that explanation because you're absolutely right. People think about hypnosis and they think you're going to be told to do something that you would never do if you were, in your right mind. Very quickly, I'm going to ask you to give me a mini, if you will, understanding of Parents Anonymous because I do want to focus on children and social media and how to navigate that. Parents Anonymous, what is that?
Parents Anonymous is a national organization dedicated to supporting the personal empowerment journey of diverse parents, children, and youth. And that's parents in any parenting role, whether you gave birth to these children, whether they're 5 years old or they're 50 years old, whether you're the auntie who's raising the child or the abuela. So Parents Anonymous has several evidence-based programs, but the heart of Parents Anonymous is the weekly support group where parents bring their children who are minors to the group, and they go into different groups, and based on the therapeutic processes of Parents Anonymous, dig down deep and deal with those underlying emotions and deal with whatever their journey is as a leader. They build a sense of community and belonging, because when we're isolated and feel alone, we feel like we're the only one with this problem or this child. And
Exactly.
people don't have a way to bounce that off other people, or in a safe space where they can deal with that underlying fear and loss that is so pervasive, that drives us in so many ways. At the same time, we run the only national parent and youth helpline, open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, staffed
Excellent.
by trained counselors in this country. We talk to people in 240 languages. Yes, we are busy, and sometimes you will wait and you can listen to our meditations in English and Spanish. You can leave
Wonderful.
us a message. You can text us. You can live chat us through our website, and you can text us on our phone number. So that's another program. We also do substance abuse prevention. We also do leadership training. We believe that the future depends on parents, but parents are so put down. Every time a child has a problem, you must have caused it. Wait a
Right.
minute. You and
Exactly.
I both know,
Exactly.
as social scientists and as clinicians, that that's not true. But
Let
it's
me
all about the schools blaming the parents, the
Right.
hospitals blaming you if your child's suicidal, and you may have nothing to do with it. And you yourself need support. So our approach is all about family strengthening. Everybody in the family needs help. It's not about all these organizations that call, we're for families. What's a family? It's not a person. When you call, when a teacher
Exactly.
calls, when a counselor calls, when a healthcare provider calls, they're calling you, mom, dad, auntie. Who is the adult here? So let's identify them and honor them to support them if they're struggling, and or any of their children struggling. To me, it's
Dr.
not an
Lisa,
either or, to put
let
people in a
me
box.
interrupt you. I absolutely appreciate the explanation that you've given us for Parents Anonymous, and my guess is that you're going to be getting a fair number of calls. It's wonderful to know that you guys are national. You have so many language options available. That sounds wonderful. I want to focus just for a few minutes, though, on something that you and I, again, both know that parents struggle with all the time, and it's not that it's an easy struggle, but it's easy to imagine that it would be a struggle. And I'm talking about social media. You have a child, your child is on social media all day long, 29 hours a day if they could be, and society supports that. Talk to those parents about, well, let me back up. How do you know when your child is engaging in social media too much? Is there such a thing as too much?
Absolutely. Just like anything. First of all, let's get real. This thing is an object, not a person. And now we know people are going into chatbots for mental health. People are looking for advice. They're going, the dangers of social media are real. Yes, there are some benefits, but just like everything else as a parent, if you're talking about an 8-year-old or a 17-year-old, you are already need to be tuned into what that child's temperament's about and set those kind of limits. You don't let your 8-year-old stay up to 2 in the morning just because they're scrolling on their phone. So setting limits around social media and modeling it yourself as a parent. Many parents are addicted to social media themselves. They're constantly on the phone. People
Right.
joke, well, that's like a body part. I can't be without it at all times. Work is calling. My friends are calling. I need to check on this. So we as parents model that behavior. If you're on your phone, you're not interacting with each other. You're not interacting with your peers. You're not
Right.
interacting with your children. You're disconnected. And that disconnection creates depression and loneliness, etc. So
So,
people who leave their phone on all night, we know that ambient light interrupts your sleep. Everybody should be turning their phones off. Just like you have a curfew to go to sleep, parents need to have some limits around social media. How much, how, where, when, and how. At the dinner table, everybody put it away. Everybody
really?
models that. So,
Okay.
yeah, just like
Social media,
making a
all
decision, we're going to have dinner once a week together. Everybody's schedule's too busy to have it every night. The science
okay,
is really clear. The more you have dinner with your kids, the better your relationship is. There's simple things we can do, like giving
okay.
your kid chores. There's long-term Harvard research that says the most successful adults are the ones whose parents gave them real responsibilities and chores at the youngest of age, whether it's sweeping up your toys, whether it's going outside and sweeping up the leaves because it's fall, whether it's giving them a duty and they enjoy it. That helps them build a sense of self-confidence and responsibility, even at the youngest age. So doing everything for them, as many people will say, is they're never learning a thing. It's like you want to teach people to fish, you don't want to fish for them. We know that for years. Same
Right.
thing in parenting. So we need to check out, where are we at? What do we feel comfortable? Everybody has different values. But if the dinner time is sacred and you want to have conversation, then you don't want phones there.
So,
If
Dr. Lisa, let me ask you this. Let's say I've got my, I don't know, 13-year-old child,
right.
13, 14-year-old child who has a phone and is on social media. At what point do I know that it's time for me to be concerned about how much my child is interacting with social media? Is there a way for me to tell?
Yeah, I think there is a way for you to tell.
How
And
do I
one of the
tell?
ways to tell is, how are you checking in with this child?
What does that
So
mean?
that means knowing where they're at on a psychological level. That's not after school. Well, what'd you do today? Because every kid's going to say nothing. See you later, parent. How are you building a bridge of a relationship so you know what they're even doing on social media? So just assume they have a phone. You don't really know what they're doing on social media. What is your relationship with this child besides, you need to get up, brush your teeth, we're going to school, the bus is late, get your homework? That's all instructions. That's not about nurturing this relationship. So let's put all that aside that we do as parents, that we have to do, and say, how are you building this relationship? Well, my teenager doesn't want to talk to me. Well, you need to find a way into, what are your interests? What are the hairstyles you like? Like, what are your friends talking about? Why do you want to know this, mom? Well, I want to get to know you. What's important to you? So if you value them as a person, not as a child who's still not developed and has poor judgment, we know all that, that frontal lobe's not done. But get down to the level of, even with a 4-year-old, let's play a game you played at school. What's fun? What's happy? And try to find, you need to build that relationship so you can be that important influence in their life. Then you will start seeing, do they look depressed? Do they seem isolated? Do they not talk to their friends anymore who they jabbered about forever? Changes in sleep behavior, eating behavior,
Yeah.
interactions give a sign towards potential depression, and it could be related to, how much are they on the phone? Do you limit TV? Do you limit video games? If you limit all that, you need to live in social media. And as a parent, you got to put it on the list.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not on social media. I'm just calling my friends. I'm going over my homework. Well, at homework time, do it at the kitchen table and say, at homework time, I'm doing work, you're doing homework. Let's put all our phones away for an hour. You need to
Again,
create
limited.
these
Okay.
breaks so you can foster it. I think kids today don't even know how to interact with their
Right.
peers.
Right.
They don't
Absolutely.
pick up the phone. They only text. They text is writing words to a machine. And yes, you
That's
can have
a good
emojis.
point.
We know clinically that how do I feel human connection if
Right.
I'm not with other humans?
So let me ask you this. You're saying to parents to set limits, which of course is the one thing that children don't want to have in their lives at all. But how do you, I gave you an example a moment ago of a younger child. I got a 17-year-old. My 17-year-old is on his phone all day long. Let's pretend that's true.
Okay.
What
Well, I
do I
think that it's,
say
first
to
of
my
all,
17-year-old?
I would beg to differ that the research is very clear that children have reported over and over again, when they have limits, they feel safer and more confident. This is
Okay.
basic to your mental health. So,
Okay.
yes, there's going to be a pushback about any rule, anything. You can't tell me what to do. And when you're a 17-year-old, like, I'm almost out of your hair, you know? But hey, if I'm still supporting you and you're living in the house, there are rules. Like, I go to work, there are rules. There are rules about driving a car. There are rules all throughout life. There's nothing as an adult that we already accept as rules that kids act like, well, you can't apply these rules to me. So we
Right.
as adults need to say, you want to be a fully functioning adult. There are rules of driving on the street. There are rules at work. You can't go cuss out your coworker and nobody's going to report you or call the police. You have to
That's
have a
a little
certain kind of
job.
behavior. But the
Right.
thing is, with a 17-year-old, you need to talk to them about, this means you're not interacting with any human being. You're interacting with a machine, and that's not good for your mind, body, and soul. And do you have friends who are sad? So you can ask them to talk about, well, how do you feel? Why don't I want to talk about how you feel? We'll talk about the people you know. I can't imagine that they don't know anybody who's on ADHD medication, or anybody who's not depressed, or his parents got divorced and they're feeling lonely and they don't want to talk to anybody. And if they look like they're withdrawn, I mean, your child, if they're more and more withdrawn, you can, and they're on social media all the time, you just say, we need to disconnect that because you don't seem happy. How do you feel? Well, first of all, you need to ask, how do you feel? How do I connect to this child who feels like you don't understand me because you're 45 years old and I'm 17, or you're 60 and I'm 17, or you couldn't get it. It's not like your day. And it's like, tell me how it is. You have to use that as an opening. Let's both put our phones away. I value our relationship and I want to know you in a way. I want to celebrate who you are. I want to know your struggles. Hey, in high school, let me tell you, nobody invited me to prom, and I didn't like prom, and I was so disappointed. I felt so isolated. And actually, how you have a high school experience is one of what positive childhood experiences that Christina Bethel studied over and over again. It's one of the 7 things important about positivity in our childhood. And a lot of people, I had terrible high school, but I had adults in my life who supported me, and I felt accepted by my family. So there are different avenues. You need to fight that thing. Well, they're boy, they're boy, they're teen, they're teen. They're almost an adult. Are you kidding me? Remember when you were that age? Were you using the best judgment? Was anybody there for you? So you need to make yourself there. You need to say, like you have a date with your partner. Well, let's have a date every week. That's just you. I'll listen to the music you like. I want you to share your favorite what's going on in your life. And depending on what their interests are, they may have never even shared some interests with you because they think you don't understand. So teenagers, again, 8-year-olds love you. They hug and kiss the teachers. Everybody's wonderful. And then they become a teen, and puberty affects their hormones and everything else. And then it's like, I need to assert who I am. I need to be me at 17. At 17, that's frightening. You're not earning a living. You haven't finished college. You don't have a job. You may be driving a car, may not be driving. Are you using the best judgment? And if they're driving a car and they're addicted to social media, they're looking at their phone and they're headed to a car accident. So most car accidents with teens happen because they're on their telephone and they're not calling people. They're searching in social media.
That's interesting. Let me ask you this, because we're almost out of time. We're like half a second out of time. You and I both know that the parents who are trying to set limits, particularly with your children around social media, the child's going to say no. It sounds like when a parent's feeling really stuck about how to navigate that social media monitoring with their child, that Parents Anonymous is a great place to call for help.
Absolutely. So the helpline is there. No blame, no shame. Any issue you have about yourself or any of the children or people in your life, with your supervisor, you think it may be sexual harassment. You think your neighbor has been talking to one of your kids inappropriately.
Okay.
Your kid reports to you some terrible things. We had a call. This kid said, if you don't have sex with me, I'm going to kill myself. Yeah. Not only do you have a threatening situation, you have a child, a young boy who's got mental health challenges, as well as a girl. And as a parent, you feel guilty. You're not going to send them to school. What are you going to do? So all these complications, parents need to be able to unpack it. So having a trained counselor on the other end who listens, who supports, who helps you strategize, and just learn to breathe so you can relax. Our average call is about 30 minutes. We have people calling. We're on for over an hour. Okay. You can call back as many times as you need at any time, but realize we are busy, and we will call you back. So you can say, can you call me back at this time? Or you can text. And we know people need to feel that somebody is out there listening to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's not going to say, just go take a hot bath, it'll be okay. Or they'll grow out of it. Oh, they're a boy. They're getting straight A's in schools. What are you complaining about? It's like, it's not about complaining. It's about worry. We as parents worry the entire time we're parents. Exactly. Not worry so that we can't breathe every day, but the concern, if we don't have our ears and eyes open, and when I used to say to my husband, eyes on the prize, who's coming over? Who are these friends that our kids are associated with? Do you see any behavior that everything is not a private thing? Everything is figuring it out. You're worried your child's having sex, and maybe unprotected sex, or maybe they've been influenced by an older person. Going into these chat rooms, they have found situations where somebody's buying them an airline ticket. This kid's going on a plane and saying, my parents don't love me. And this first adult is manipulating them. There's sex trafficking. If you don't think that's happening out there, they have bots that sound like your voice, calling your child and telling you, I need you to come home now, or go to the store, or I'm going to meet you on the corner.
I'm going to have to interrupt you because we are out of time. But again, it sounds like Parents Anonymous is a fabulous first source. Give us the phone number, give us the email address before I got to run away.
Okay. 855 427-2736 is the phone number.
Okay.
You can text it or call it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The
Okay.
website is NATL for National ParentYouthHelpline.org. NATL ParentYouthHelpline.org. There are also meditations on the website that you can listen to yourself. There are resources based on different age children. They're in English and Spanish. You can also translate the website into 10 major languages: German, Chinese, Mandarin, etc. if you
Gotcha.
speak other languages. If you are a grandparent, you can call the helpline. If you're a 30-year-old and you don't have children and you're just worried about yourself, we don't turn anybody away and we don't pass anybody on to somebody else. There are other lines out there where they don't have trained masters and PsyD and above clinical people. And so they only are like a warm line. They just give you a number. That's great. But this is providing clinical support over the phone. We'll even talk to grandma and the teen together, or we'll help coach grandma to talk to the teen and be in the room together with them.
Dr. Lisa, I'm so sorry, but we are absolutely out of time. But I do want to thank you. You're providing a rich resource, and I cannot imagine that people aren't going to feel comforted by the fact that you exist. Thank you again so much for joining us on this edition of M.E.S.H. Folks, Dr. Lisa Pion-Berlin with Parents Anonymous. My name is Pamela Brewer. I'm here every week. Every Wednesday, you're going to have a new program, a new conversation to listen to. I hope you will share it with someone you care about. Again, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of M.E.S.H.
Thank you.